Welcome to the Deep Dive,
Emerald City Hockey's Seattle Kraken podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Deep Dive, Emerald City Hockey's Seattle Kraken podcast. RJ, we are officially into the month of August. We're actually a decent way into August now, by the time we're getting around to this, which means we are in way too early territory, which is what we do in the month of August because just nothing happens in the NHL world during the month of August. Everybody's off at all of their cabins and lake houses and everything like that. And RJ, you and I are still here, but well, you're at your parents' house, so there you go, you did something.
It's a vacation of sorts.
It is. So what we like to do during the month of August is what we call way too early, where we start guessing things for the upcoming season or even beyond. And this first one was a very popular one from last off season. That is, of course, us doing over-unders for the upcoming Seattle Kraken season. So each of us have compiled a list of over-unders. We're going to be going through that. Going to announce a very special way that the community can get involved with that as well. And we'll also be going over to see who did better last year, now that the season has concluded and we know who did better. But first, RJ, we have to wish somebody happy birthday, but even before that, we have news from our wonderful sponsor, Queen Anne Beer Hall, who sponsors all of these podcasts. RJ, why don't you fill in the people on what Queen Anne Beer Hall has going on this lovely month of August?
Right, so lots of great events at the Beer Hall this month, but the one I want to tell you about is the Crab Month special event, All You Can Eat Crab, August 20th this month. So tickets are on all their social media. It's on our Instagram story too. Just re-upped it. They made sure to tag us in it too. They want everyone to know.
Yep.
It is All You Can Eat Crab on August 20th, 6 to 10 p.m. That is a 4-hour window to eat all the crab that you can eat and have a good time with that. So if crab is your thing, Queen Anne Beer Hall is the place to be August 20th.
All right, there we go. Good stuff there. RJ, care to guess whose birthday it is today?
This is too easy.
There we go. No, I just love that.
What does that have to do with the Kraken?
I love that face. Well, everything, RJ, because the hockey world revolves around Sidney Crosby until he retires. That's like that's what Gary Bettman said in 2005, right? It still holds. Anyway, happy birthday, Sid. Enjoy your new teammate in Erik Karlsson. It means Erik Karlsson's out of the division, RJ. So now we get to spend half an hour talking about what that means for the Kraken, right?
Not here, not now, please.
I know. We got the over-under stuff to get to. Real quick, though, we do have a news and note about the Seattle Kraken. There was a bit of information. They kind of did the deep dive curse on us last week, announced it right after, the day after. But RJ, we've got news, and it's about the Winter Classic.
Yes, we do. Deep dive curse in full effect. It was literally the day after, as these things tend to happen. But the Seattle Kraken's Winter Classic logo was leaked the other day by none other than friend of the pod, Ken Bolke from Sinbin.Vegas. So great sleuthing work there, Ken, to leak the Kraken and the Golden Knights logos for the upcoming Winter Classic game that'll happen this season in January. And let's see, can we throw a picture on the YouTube version of this?
Yeah, of course.
All right, so we will do that. If you're listening on the audio version, go to our social media, Twitter, Instagram, anywhere. It will be there, and you'll see the picture of it. Go look for yourself. So it was revealed from a hat, actually. So the logo is on a hat, and you've got some of the text along the side of the hat. So we don't know what the jersey is going to look like. We don't know what it's going to look like on the jersey, but we have the logo. And so it is a red Seattle Kraken S, the one you'll recognize from the front of the regular jerseys, but it's all red on the inside and then outlined with that kind of cream color that you'll see on various vintage jerseys. A lot of the times you'll see it in the Winter Classic. And then it has the letters Kraken kind of scrolling along the S, a little bit, reminiscent of the way that the Seattle, is on the Metropolitan's S. So Dylan, what do you think of this logo? And then let's talk a little bit about kind of the subtext behind it and why they may have chosen this rather than a straight up Metropolitans logo.
I was going to say, first up, just for everybody, no, the leaked pictures that we do have are I don't know, 120p. It's very low res, but it's enough to give us the idea. I actually really like this, and let's start off in the first place, RJ. It's a heck of a lot better than Vegas's. Just saying.
Oh yes, for sure. If you look at the Vegas one. I don't know exactly what they're going with. I mean, maybe it's fitting for them. It kind of looks like the V is flipping the double birds.
It totally does.
That's how I took it, especially after their Stanley Cup win. That seems very fitting for that organization. So I guess it works for them, but I'm not a fan.
And then the Vegas show writing on the side. I don't know. This Kraken one is fantastic, though. Look, I like the red a lot. I like that they're incorporating that a little bit more. That's something I've talked about in the past. I want to see more of that from the Kraken. It is one of your official colors. Use it. It's okay. It's okay. We like the red. It's fun. I really like the way that they keep on the side of the hat the Kraken writing all like it's done from the S, so it looks like a tentacle kind of coming up off the side of the hat. I think that's a lot of fun. I think the winter logo patch on the other side of the hat is way too big, but that's that's besides the point. But the bottom line is I like the logo. I like this direction for them. Look, we all wanted it to be kind of Metropolitans inspired, but we know the difficulties in just straight up doing the Metropolitans as far as trademarks, copyrights, all that kind of stuff is concerned. This feels close enough for me, RJ.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's close enough. Basically, it's far enough away to be legally distinct, but close enough that you know exactly what they're going with. And I think that had to be the strategy here, given that they don't own the rights to the Metropolitans logo, as it was. So you go with this Kraken logo that is still very much their logo. You can prove that you own it. Just have it that red color, and you can have the Kraken going through it, and you should have no legal issues. But everyone knows what it's a nod to. And we'll see, too, with the jerseys, because, again, there's no adverse ownership for any kind of striping, or you can probably make like a barber pole type design. We'll see though, because this hat is the ice blue and then the darker blue that the Kraken have. So because the hat is this color, is that maybe a hint that the jerseys will be more traditional Kraken colors, and then that logo will be on it? It'll be interesting to see how those colors all kind of work together.
Do you think they do a barber pole jersey with the Kraken colors, the dark blue and the light blue?
I would like to see that, and maybe also like that cream color that's on the outside of the logo. I think that would look really nice.
Yeah, I think that would look nice as well. So really intriguing stuff. I can't wait for it. But look, I mean, when we talked about stuff that we wanted to see for the Winter Classic back when it was announced that Seattle would be hosting it, right? The number one thing that we really wanted was the nod to the history and to share the history of the Metropolitans, of Seattle being the first U.S. city to win a Stanley Cup, all that kind of stuff, to share that with hockey fans from around the league. And this, our first glimpse, seems to be pointing towards that. So again, I'm all good with it.
Yep, I'm excited. It's less than 5 months away now. Still feels like a long time. But can't wait to cover it. Can't wait to cover it with you, because I believe you've already bought the plane tickets to go up there for it. So,
plane tickets are booked.
Awesome. So looking forward to having you up there for that. We're going to get to cover that together, and I'm sure it'll go by in no time. The time will fly.
Yeah. And I will too. Okay. I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it. It was there. All right. So now let's transition over into way too early territory. RJ, talking over-unders. Let's go ahead and review the over-unders that we had last year. And so when we did this last year, RJ, we went through, we each picked 10 over-unders each, 5 for the team, 5 for individual players. And we went through this. You have the results of all of that. One of the things we did, though, was we also threw together a Google form to get the community involved. May have overlooked putting a question on the Google form to have people put in their name. Because when we went to pull up the results from that Google form from last year, they're all anonymous. We have no ability.
Just timestamps.
Yes, we have no ability to match them to anybody. So please accept our apology on that one, everyone. That wasn't something we knew we needed to do. We were very new to that whole idea and everything. We still are. But so we have how the community as a whole did.
Yes, and so we will go through that. We had 20 responses. So we have these nice pie charts, courtesy of Google here, that shows how everybody responded. But yes, unfortunately, we don't have any individual data, but we will include that on the Google form for this time. So everyone make sure to fill that out. You can put your name on it, whatever you'd like to be called, and we will have the results next year when we see what everyone did.
Exactly. So, all right, RJ, why don't you quickly go through, let's run down what we did last year. And then we'll get going on the over-unders for this upcoming season.
All right, let's do it. So real quick, we had 10 each. So there were 20 total questions, so 20 total over-unders that we did. I did 10, Dylan did 10. So basically we picked out 10 for each other.
Yes.
So out of 10, Dylan, I got 5 right. So, kind of right in the middle of the pack there.
Seems average.
Average, right? If I, guessed randomly, I suppose, then that's probably about how I would do. But you, on the other hand, Dylan, you got 8 out of 10 right.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, it shows which one of us is more familiar with gambling.
That is true. That is no question about that. Maybe that's what it is. It's the gambling practice, or maybe that you were good at setting your lines too. Yeah. For mine, you made it really difficult. I mean, the fact that I got 5 out of 10 right shows that you probably set the line just
pretty
about
good.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's always something I've tried to do well. Like I always had that game. Like growing up, that was something I always liked doing. But yeah, it was. I just remember it being a lot of fun last year. So I'm looking forward to this.
Yes, and it certainly will be. So let's go over real quick last year what the answers were and kind of how we each did individually and what the community thought. So we'll try and do this fairly quickly since there's 20 of them. But and it'll give us an example of kind of how this works too for this year so everyone can understand. So basically what happens with the over-under is you'll have a number. So here, let's do this as an example. Total number of fights for the season, and that's 29.5 last year. So Dylan set that one. I took the under. I thought it would be less than 29.5 fights the Kraken were involved in last year, and I was correct. It was 23. Yep. So only 23 fights the Kraken were in, and I'm trying to find. Here we go. So on the Google form, a lot of people agreed with me. 70% of you said took the under on the fights and were correct. So let's go here. We had over under 2.5 goalies to start 5 or more games. Most people, 85%, took the over on that. Really? It was actually the under. Yeah. Because Joey Daccord only started 4 games, and of course you have Jones and Grubauer do the rest. So Dylan, you took the over on that as well. You were wrong, and I probably would have taken the over too. So that one definitely caught us off guard here. Over under 6.5 for the Athletic reverse retro jersey ranking. So I maybe set this one a little bit high. I thought they were gonna, rank really high in the reverse retros. They didn't rank well in the Athletic or on the ice without getting a win there. But 70% of you had the lower ranking, and that's correct. What it was 25th actually. In the jersey rankings for the reverse retros. So that did not do as well as I thought.
I was just gonna say, and that is way too low for their ranking. Like when we looked at all of them, we did that over on Red Glare, the Patreon pod, and that was 25 is ridiculously low. But I agree with the sentiment of, safe money would be to take the under on that. Or the
right. I 6.5. I probably set that too high. So next is highest single game goal total, and this is the one where I think we all collectively got it the most wrong. So I set the over under at 7.5, which means to take the over, you'd have to bet on the Kraken getting 8 goals in one game at some point this season. Well, they did that 6 times. They had 5 games of 8 goals, and then, as you remember very well, Dylan, they had one game where they scored 9 goals in Los Angeles. 75% of the community took the under on that one. I think we were all pretty wrong. Yeah, but happy to be wrong.
Definitely, that's one we're very happy to be wrong.
So, next one.
I was just gonna say it shows the mindset we were all in coming off of that first season.
And I do love seeing this year to year. Because, look, none of us saw this kind of season coming, right? The Kraken getting within a game of the conference final. So it's interesting to see kind of how surprised we were by some of these things and the mindset we were in, as you mentioned. So the next one's kind of interesting. Over under 5.5 inches as the greatest height differential of any fight involving a Kraken player. I think I had mentioned before that it was Alexiak and Delorier, which was a 6-inch difference. But I'm like, well, what are the odds that they can replicate that? So you took the over though. You thought that there would be a greater differential. 65% of the community took the over, so they agreed with you. And you know what? They were right because Delorier and Alexiak fought again. Yep.
It's only because for year 1 I was there for that fight, and I've had a feeling if they matched up again they'd go for round 2, and I got it. But also sneakily, right? Yanni Gourde gets into a lot of scraps. It's totally possible he would have gotten into one with someone who was like 6'3" or something.
Yeah, and you did mention that on the episode last year as well. So it could have happened both ways. It turns out it was Alexiak, also fighting with Liam O'Brien, same height as Delorier. So he did it twice. So
Yeah.
you hit the over twice. Good job. Next is 33 and a half, over under 33 and a half players to play in a regular season game for the Kraken. So it was a lot of players in their inaugural season. I think it was like 37, 38, but you had COVID, you had, a lot of roster turnover. We figured it would be less. So I set the numbers at less than that, but we didn't really predict just how healthy they'd be. So you took the under. So very good. You took the under. The actual number was 29, only 29 players, and that's skaters and goalies for the Kraken this past season. And I mean, that's really impressive and probably a reason for their success. The community, 55% of them took the under, so they were also correct. Maybe influenced by you, Dylan. You're a pretty strong believer in the under there.
Yeah, I mean, because you're saying, 11 players would have to be added to the roster at some point, or 11 different players added to the roster over the course of the year. It feels like a lot.
Yeah, and if you don't have a deadline with a whole trade deadline with a lot of players going out, a lot of players coming in, we just thought maybe they'd be sellers at the deadline, but they sure weren't. Next one, and this might be my favorite, just in the concept of it, but over under 16 and a half for the jersey number of the Kraken's leading goal scorer. Now, it seems obvious knowing who that was this season with Jared McCann having a 40-goal year, but it was less certain, I think. He was the leading goal scorer in their inaugural season, but, we didn't know for sure. And also, I misremembered. I thought his jersey number was 16 still when we did the episode. He had changed it to 19. So 70% of the community taking the over, as did you. And of course, it was Jared McCann, jersey number 19, not 16. So y'all hit the over there. Maybe a little bit of error on my part.
Again, though, that one was just, you're playing the odds, right? Mostly defensemen under that number. They're probably not going to do it. If they are, you're assuming something really dramatic has happened.
Yep. No, definitely. So, I mean, certainly with where the number is set. And I will be doing that again this year because I just love that question so much. So we can see where the number is. It will be in a different spot. It will not be 16 and a half again. All right. So over under 0.5 Martin Jones shutouts. So you can tell where my head was at because I set that one. And 70% of the community and you, Dylan, all took the over, and you hit that pretty easily. Martin Jones with 3 shutouts and a fantastic season for the Kraken. So Martin Jones leaving no doubt on that one.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, man, he was on fire back through like January. It's been a while. Easy to forget, but he came up big.
He still hasn't signed with another team. I'm interested to see where he ends up after this offseason, but I think he definitely deserves a shot as a backup somewhere. I mean, he had some great flashes there, and to the tune of 3 shutouts.
Definitely.
All right. Next, and this one I really set the line wrong, although the community went 60-40 on this, but over under 22 minutes, Adam Larsson average ice time. So I should have known you were going to smash the over on this one here. And the community did too, to an extent. The real answer, 23-38 he averaged. So not even close. Way, way over. Even if I had said it at 23, that would have felt high back then. But Adam Larsson, an absolute beast on the blue line. I mean, do we need to say more?
No. I've said more than enough, I think, already.
Yes, you sure have. So this was probably the most lopsided community response on the over-under. And it's another one I said, of course. So over under October 22nd. So it was a date. So sooner or later for Matty Beniers' first multi-point game. Yeah. So I had said it, I think 5 or 6 games into the season.
Yeah.
I thought that was reasonable. Apparently you and the community disagreed. 90% went with earlier than October 22nd. And you know what? He did it in the season opener against the Anaheim Ducks. Took them all of 1 game. So you had faith in Matty Beniers. It paid off. I mean, it always does.
Yeah, no, he's just a fantastic player. I mean, I remember us thinking about that, and would he start off maybe a little slow, get his feet wet? We were really looking at that early season schedule. Bottom line is, he established very early on that he is for real, and he is that guy.
Oh yeah, for sure. There was no question on his way to a Calder Trophy.
Hmm.
Um, now, over under this one's sad. 15 and a half Cole Lind goalie kisses.
No,
Now, I thought this was fun, and I still do think it's fun
it
because
is
Cole
fun.
Lind's still there, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a two-parter, right? It's how many games is Cole into the lineup, and how many of those are wins.
Yes.
And we thought we'd see a lot more of Cole Lind. And the community, to an extent, agreed. 35% of them took the over, so that's 65% of them took the under. I don't think they necessarily imagined, even if you took the under, that it would be zero. The real
Yeah.
answer was zero. Cole Lind did not play a game for the Kraken last season. And the reason you took the under, I went back and watched the video. You said that you thought Lind would be a waiver casualty, that he would be claimed off waivers, and so we wouldn't get the goalie kisses that way. Made it through waivers, but just never played a game for the Kraken.
Yeah, and it is a tough one because I remember really enjoying that one. I thought it was really a lot of fun. We kind of did fun ones for our last ones each,
Yep.
and I thought that one was really good. But yeah, just unfortunate. I mean, again, it's the price of everybody being healthy, and then the Kraken not being sellers at the deadline either, because that would have been a time for some guys like him to be called up. But season went better than any of us thought it would.
Yeah. Well, you know what? There's hope for this season.
There definitely
Still
is.
hope.
Yep.
All right. So next, over under 2.5 hat tricks for the team. And knowing how much they scored, you would think the over had a really good chance here. And people agreed. 60% of the community took the over on that one. I took the over on that one, but I was wrong. Only one hat trick, and it was Jared McCann in Chicago. The scoring was just so spread out this season that,
Yes.
only the one hat trick.
Yeah, team has issues with it. I don't know what to say. But you know what? That one's coming back for this year's over under. I'm bringing it back.
That'll be a good one to look at again. And another one that might be coming back. This one over under 7.5 shorthanded goals for the Kraken. Now, we were really excited about the penalty kill. And the potential for them to get better. I mean, we'd seen flashes too with Gord and Blackwell, and we had a lot of good penalty killers, and adding guys like maybe a Matty Beniers to the PK. And so you thought maybe they could be dangerous on the power kill. 7.5 shorthanded goals is the line. I did take the under, so I was a little bit pessimistic on that. The community disagreed with me. 55% took the over, so 55-45. And I was right, though. Real was 6. There were 6 shorthanded goals, led, of course, by Jared McCann, who I don't think we really saw coming, with 3.
Yeah, no, it had half of the team's output shorthanded last year. I thought it was okay because year one they had 8. I really thought that was going to be a good line, but oh well.
Yep. Didn't get the 2 from Gio. We were missing that, apparently. That was the difference.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right, next, so sticking with the penalty kill. Over under 79.5% penalty kill percentage. So it was very bad in the Kraken's inaugural season. The question is, does it get better? I know you picked that number because it was around league average. Can they get to a league average penalty kill? And you know what? The community was optimistic.
Yep.
70% took the over on that. I was optimistic. I took the over on that. Nope. It was the under. 76.69% on that for the PK. So not as nice as we would have thought. I don't know. What do you think went wrong?
I mean, I think it cemented, just don't ever put your trust in Kraken special teams.
Yep. I think we've learned that lesson now. But hopefully we'll be maybe proven wrong if we take the under on that next season. So next is over under 5.5 team shutouts. So this one divided the community. It was 50-50. Seeing this even pie chart here. I took the over. I thought, the Kraken's defense would improve, and it did, but only 3 shutouts, all from Martin Jones this season. So they did not go over the 5.5. Yeah. I was thinking back to the 0.5 Martin Jones shutouts one. If I had given you 0.5 Philip Grubauer shutouts, you would have taken the over.
I would have taken the over. I would have said he's going to pick up 1. There will be another game against the Islanders, and he'll be able to grab 1.
Right. So the Kraken next season, if they're going to hit the over on this, they'll need two goalies to contribute to
Yeah.
some of those shutouts, I would think. But yeah, so maybe there's some room for growth next season. Um, so next we've got over under 1.5 Vince Dunn fights. So this one I thought was really interesting. And if you remember the stories of the Dundertaker
Yep.
from year one, we knew it was something he was capable of. You
Mm-hmm.
set that over under at 1.5. And it's tempting, right? Because there's 82 games.
Yeah.
All you got to do is get in 2 fights
Yep.
to hit that over. And 80% of the community took the over.
Yeah.
So they thought we were going to see more of the Dundertaker. Only 1 fight this season for Vince Dunn. And I mean, my answer, I did take the under. I was in the minority there, but I took the under, and I went back and looked at the video and I said, he knows he's got a job to do. He's going to focus on point production. He's going to be that offensive defenseman that he knows he needs to be. And with that is going to come less focus on fights. And thankfully I was right.
Yeah. I mean, we saw him, he still had that temper throughout last season, just never found a downs partner.
Exactly. And there were some players, I remember there were a couple games in a row where Adam Larson hit somebody and then the player who he hit went right after Vince Dunn. And Dunn went, well, no, fight Lars. He's the one who did it. So makes sense. Next one, another one that divided the community here. 50-50 split on this. And this shows how well you set the line, Dylan. Over under 12.75 Jared McCann shooting percentage. Now, the line was not close to what actually happened.
Nowhere close, no.
But it shows that we all thought his shooting percentage would be right around that spot. And I remember on the video, I said it would be close, but I took the under. I was wrong.
Yeah.
Very wrong. As Jared McCann's shooting percentage was a whopping 19% last season. I don't think any of us fully saw that coming.
No, not at all. It was a crazy season from him. But hopefully his new normal.
Yes, let's just stay at 19%, have that be the benchmark. I mean, look, we've given up questioning when it's going to come back down to earth.
No.
It's not. It might come down a little lower than it is now, but it's not going to come down to earth. So next is over under 60.05. You had to add that little bit there to make sure that it didn't hit exactly. Matty Beniers, 5-on-5 offensive zone starting percentage. So we're looking at the offensive zone starts for Matty Beniers. The question, how sheltered would he be?
Yep.
And so you pick that 60% number. The community thought it would be over that. So thought we'd see a lot more sheltering for Matty Beniers. 75% of people said that. I did take the under, which was correct. 56.4% offensive zone starts. So more impressive deployment for Matty. It's like the others that we talked about, taking the optimistic side on Matty Beniers would have worked out for you basically every single time in our over-unders.
Yeah, no, I mean, and Hackstall trusted him. We knew he was a good two-way player. His defense was solid, and you know what? Coaching staff believed in it, and they were proven right through most of the season.
Exactly. So keep that in mind for any future, maybe Matty Beniers over-unders that we have this year, that he did prove everybody wrong who may have taken the under. Next one, and this might be the happiest one that I'm going to read, and it's over under 57.5 Jaden Schwartz games played. I'm so he hit the over on this, Dylan. 75% of the community and me, we all took the under. And come on, can you blame us, Dylan?
No. There's a reason I said it the way I did. It's just I used the history and everything available, and that's what it kind of spat out. But I'm very happy as well that number was way over. It was 71 games played from Jaden Schwartz.
Yep, he played 71 games this season, so really happy about that. I think on the video you mentioned 71 was a career high until you found an 80 somewhere way back in his career. But right up there among his career high and basically staying more or less healthy the entire season. So good for Jaden Schwartz. Glad he proved us wrong there. And so this last one, Dylan, was probably the toughest one to verify.
Yeah.
It was your fun one at the end of the episode. Over under 1.5 Brandon Tanev haircuts.
Yeah.
So 80% of the community took the under. I took the under. There was one. There's only one that I could verify over the course of the season, Dylan. And if you have a second one that you'd like to bring up, feel free. But I think he only got his haircut once.
I think that's probably right. just based on everything. And yeah, I thought it was an interesting one. I wasn't sure, especially if on the off chance they make the postseason, maybe one would have to come in closer to that time. Yeah, I thought maybe we'd see a big trim at some point, but nope, you kept it long, kept it good, and I'm okay being wrong on that one.
Yeah, I think so. We talked about it at the end too. We said that was the optimistic answer, actually, was to take the under here
definitely
on the Brandon Tanev haircuts. So I hit on that. The community hit that. So here we go. That's it for last year's.
Yep.
Community did pretty well. I think certainly better than I did, it seemed like, on those answers. So good job, everybody. And we'll have that form out for you. There'll be a link in the YouTube description below to fill it out with the question over-unders that we're about to go over right now. And I'll put that out on all our social media too, the Twitter, the Instagram. There will be a link to it. If you follow us anywhere, we'll put it out on the Discord too. Fill out that form, play along with us, and we'll do this all again in a year's time and see how we all did.
Definitely. Super excited. All right, RJ, it's time. You know all of mine because I had to send them to you to build the Google form, but yours are a surprise to me. So I am very curious to hear what you have. So do you want to start with the first team-based over/under?
Sure. I'll go ahead and start with the first team-based over/under here. And yeah, we had to change the odds a little bit here with how much better you did last year. I need every advantage I can get. So I have had a little bit of time to think about yours. Mine will just be right off the bat here. So let's go with one that we had last year to start off.
Okay.
So it won't catch you completely by surprise.
Yeah.
And that's the highest single game goal total. So this is the one that the Kraken may have, disproven the most here. Last season, they had 8+ goals 5 times, scored 9 once.
Yeah.
I've got to raise the line from 7.5 to 8.5, Dylan. Make it even tougher here. I mean, what are you thinking?
I mean, as much as I would love to be at another 9-8 game this season, 9 is really, really high. I don't know that we'll see something like that again. That took overtime to get to 2, if we all remember. So I think 8 is definitely possible, even maybe more than once, but I don't know about 9. I'm going to take the under.
All right. I think that's probably the safe pick here, but I couldn't leave it at 7.5. I just feel so convinced they're going to get to 8 at least once.
Yeah, definitely.
Next season. I had to make it tougher on you.
Definitely. All right. So I also carried over some that I feel like should just kind of be legacy picks almost, where they're here every year. But we're going to go ahead and start with fights. So last year you took the under. It was the right call. Fighting league wide still, sort of on the decline. It's kind of, leveled out a little bit these last couple of years, it looks like. But this year I've updated the line to take into account that the Kraken are a little bit better than before. They don't maybe need to fight as much. They're a little, in closer games. So they had 23 fights last year. So I set this year's line at 22.5. Now they had 26 year one, 23 last year, going with 22.5 this year.
All right, that's a tough one. You said it right by the result from last year, 23 fights last season. I think I'm going to take the over. And my thinking behind this is it just felt like there weren't a ton of fights last. Like there were some on the table, it felt like almost. Vince Dunn only fighting once. The biggest reason, too, is I think we might have more John Hayden, who's healthy, and you can bring him into the lineup over the course of the season. He had one fight for the Kraken last year, unfortunately got injured in it, but I think we'll probably see more than one from him next season. I'll take the over here.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. We'll see. When they do have fights, most likely going to be against the Vancouver Canucks. 7 of the team's fights against the Canucks in their young history. And just so you know, the 23 that the Kraken had last year tied them for 13th most in the league. So it was a little over average, if you're going on that.
Good information to know. I'll stick with my over pick here. So moving on to the next one, and this is another one from last year because I just couldn't get rid of it. Jersey number of the leading point scorer. Nice. I'm going to go with point score, not goal score, because goal score,
points,
Dylan, it's too easy. You're going to go with whatever side Jared McCann is on.
Yeah, that's what smart money would do.
So point score. There's a few different options here, I think, that you could have potentially. And I'm going to set the line at 18.5.
Ooh.
So I'm still setting it based around Jared McCann, who was the leading point scorer last season. But it splits things a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have what, Matty Beniers under that line,
Hmm.
um, Eberly under
Jordan
that
Eberle under
line.
that line.
Yeah, but other guys, let's see, Berkey. I think if he could stay healthy, he might be in that conversation. He's way over that line,
Yeah.
the 95 number. That one is tough. I think I've got to go the over though. I'm going
Okay,
over.
that's what I thought you would do. But if I put McCann and Beniers on the same side of that line, I figured it was too easy to pick that.
Yeah,
So,
I agree. But yeah, I think I gotta go the over.
all right, Dylan going over there on the jersey numbers for the second year in a row, even though this one is bumped up a little bit.
That being said, when Brandon Tanev in his number 13 jersey leads the Kraken in
Hmm.
scoring, I'll still be very, very excited and happy.
Yes, definitely. Hey, it would be a surprise for sure. Anyone who takes the under deserves it for that.
Oh, definitely. And heck, maybe he'll have one of these this year, RJ, and that's, of course, hat tricks. So the Kraken have averaged one each of their first two seasons. They've had exactly one in each of their first two seasons. So I went ahead and I lowered the line this year to 1.5. Will this upcoming season, RJ, be the first year in Kraken history in which they can register 2 hat tricks? 2 or more, I should say.
I'll take the over on this. I feel like it has to happen, right? You've lowered the line enough to they got one in their inaugural season where nothing was going right from a scoring perspective. I know they only got one when everything was going right. This feels like it should be higher. I haven't checked what other teams get usually as far as team hat tricks over the course of a season. It just feels like they have enough scoring power. They've got to get more than one.
I was gonna say playoff teams get more than one, and the Kraken were a playoff team last year. We definitely think they're going to be in that conversation this year. So yeah, I would suggest taking the over, but it's a deep team. If Hackstall's going to keep only playing everybody like 16 minutes a night, then maybe that's a part of it.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, with how the ice time is distributed, we'll see what the new fourth line looks like too, and if that means more ice time for the other guys. That's another reason that gives me optimism, is that you don't have the same fourth line coming back to spread all the scoring out.
Definitely.
All right, so next here, and we'll stick with hat tricks of a sort. Gordie Howe hat tricks. Now this one, it's a similar question, right? Because the Kraken have been consistent. 1 hat trick year 1, 1 hat trick year 2. For Gordie Howe hat tricks, 0 in year 1, 0 in year 2.
Yep.
It's simple. Will it happen? 0.5 is the line. Do we get a Gordie Howe hat trick this season, Dylan?
I mean, what, Vince Dunn and Yanni Gourde are the two guys, right? Those
maybe there could always be. I don't know. There
Brandon Tanev, maybe, like
Will Borgen.
Well, yeah, it's possible. I think it's gonna stay elusive. I'll take the under.
Okay, Dylan taking the under on that. Very
watch it happen game 1. Look, it could against Vegas. That would be the time to do it.
Oh yeah, it sure would. Yeah, and so who do you think will get it though if it does happen?
Yanni Gourde.
I know we recorded that last year. Yanni Gourde?
Yeah,
I still got to go with him.
Yeah,
he's most likely.
Definitely.
Except Will Borgen. Will Borgen will do it.
Yeah, well, it's definitely possible. All right, the last one of my legacy picks returning, and that is shorthanded goals. So in year 1, the Kraken had 8. Last year, they had 6. The over-under line for this year, I am putting at 6.5, RJ.
Okay, that's a little tougher there. I'm still going to take the under. Because I always take the under on the shorthanded goals. It feels like they're so random and difficult to make happen. I know some do pop up every season.
Yep.
But if you look at the Kraken last season, yes, Jared McCann was able to supply 3.
Yeah.
I don't know that he matches that again this coming season, shorthanded anyway. And it just seems like it's a little bit less of a power kill, a little bit less aggressive. They did switch their system mid-season.
They did.
And I think that might result in fewer shorthanded goals, or at least streakier shorthanded goals. So I'm going to take the under on that. I do think the PK hope it might improve overall, but I don't think shorthanded goals will be a part of that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, maybe there's a chance, we'll see more Matty Beniers on the penalty kill this season. He's got some young, fresh legs. He'll be hungry to go out and try to do stuff like that. I think some of the player turnover could result in some other guys into that spot that might be able to net, more than 0 that they all got last year.
Yeah, possibly. It's definitely a possibility. So, okay, this one, I am targeting you with this next over under, Dylan, because from last year's results, it is clear that you are too skilled at this. Okay, you're
I'm just
too good at
lucky.
picking the over unders. So I'm going to try and take skill completely out of it. All right.
Okay.
Over under 100, even 100.0 PDO.
I
Now, that
thought
is-
about this.
you were thinking about
I
doing
totally thought about this. Yes. Okay.
it? Okay, why'd you decide not to?
Just because I felt like it might be too easy.
Interesting. Okay, well, we'll see your rationale here as I'm guessing which one you'll take. But just for those unfamiliar, by the way, PDO, it's shooting percentage plus save percentage. So it's often used as a proxy for luck because over a long enough sample size, all that should generally even out to about 100 because, every shot either goes in or it doesn't. So the overall amount is about 100. So Kraken had, interesting, the second highest PDO in the NHL in the first half of last season.
Yeah.
So it was 1.026, second highest in the league. In the second half of the season, it was the 18th highest. So they dropped considerably, 0.995. So if you take the Kraken's first half, they would hit the over. If you take the second half of the season, they would hit the under. Now, which trend do you think continues, Dylan? You said it's too easy. So you seem pretty convinced. Which way are you going?
It's easy because I think the goaltending is going to be better, and I don't think we're going to have no goaltenders being above 900 the way that we did last year, and I think that's going to help things out. I know they shot above league average last year, the Kraken as a team. They shot 11.6. League average was 10.1. But I just think that the goaltending being as the save percentage being as low as it was, I just can't see that happening again. I think the Kraken are a better team, more complete team in front of their goaltenders. I think because of the save percentage, I'm taking the over.
All right, there you go. Taking the over, save percentage driven. We probably both think the shooting percentage is going to regress a little bit as a team, but you're going bullish on the goaltending.
Yep, I am, and that might come up a little bit later on for me too.
All right. Well, what do we have next for you?
Well, might be another reason maybe the shooting percentage doesn't regress as much as one might think, and that's because I think the power play might actually be halfway decent next year. And so what I have for you, RJ, is team power play percentage for the Kraken at 21%. Okay, which sounds insanely high to all of us in Kraken Nation. But let me tell you, 21% would still be below league average for last season. Okay, so I'm not like trying to set the bar crazy high. But I will point out the Seattle Kraken have never broken 20% for a season. They came close last year. But I'm setting it at 21 because I really think the power play is going to figure it out at some point this upcoming season.
Okay, I'm interested. What gives you the cause for optimism? This one feels too easy for me, Dylan. I have to take the under. We've talked about it so much. I need to see it to believe it. I would love to be proven wrong, but give me the under on this all day.
I totally understand that, and I will totally admit that I'm being very aggressively optimistic, setting this at 21%. Like I said, league average last year was 21.31. The Kraken were at 19.75. I just think there was a lot of bad luck, and I also think if we're 25 games into this season and the power play is still kind of as rough as it was last year and there's no player movement, all that stuff, I really think the coaching staff will spend a lot of time addressing it, and I think they will change some things around and get it going at some point this season. And so that's kind of what I'm going for.
All right, interesting. So this next one that I have for you, it is well, I don't know what to call this exactly. Plus minus differential is what's in my notes. But the difference between the Kraken's, the highest plus minus player they have, and the lowest plus minus player they have. So I'll give you a little bit of background information because I don't expect you to have a full background on that type of stat here. But so when I checked other teams, and I went and checked a few different teams over a few different seasons, that differential from the highest plus minus to the lowest plus minus player was in the neighborhood of about 35. Okay. Give or take 4 or 5 on either side of it, right?
Yeah.
The Kraken for their inaugural season, I believe it was 35 exactly.
Okay.
But for last season,
It's a little
the
more
difference
than
was
that.
45.
Yeah.
45. So you had Vince Dunn with the highest plus minus on the team at plus 28.
hmm
And with the lowest, you had Jaden Schwartz way lower than anybody else at a minus 17.
Yeah.
So that's a difference of 45. I don't think it'll be that high again. I
No.
set the line closer to what we've seen normally at 36 and a half.
36.5. Okay. I mean, look, this is a 5-on-5 team, so you don't see normally the crazy high or crazy low numbers. And because of that, I'm gonna take the under.
All right, taking the under. Don't
There's
think Jaden Schwartz is going to be a minus 17 again?
no, and that makes no sense. Like, how did that even happen? Next was Berkey at -9. I mean, maybe if he had stayed healthy and that trend continues, he would have joined Schwartz. But like, how did that even happen? -17, -17 on a team that the next lowest was -9.
Right, and you might expect that from a player who a lot of his production was on the power play, and so it
Right.
it doesn't help you there, but not really. He had 6 goals, 2 assists on the power play. I don't really
Yeah.
understand it.
Makes no sense. Yeah, I'm very surprised. I do think that Vince Dunn and Adam Larson are going to be up there towards the top for the Kraken again, just because they play the most minutes.
Yeah, I could see that happening again.
It is still a counting stat after all. And then finally, I talked about the power play last time. That's something that a lot of Kraken fans always keep in the forefront of their mind. The Kraken struggles mostly when it comes to the power play. Another thing that the Kraken struggle with is face-offs, RJ. So team face-off win percentage, 48.7, RJ, is where I'm setting it, which I believe, oh no, I closed the tab by accident. Oh no. But that would have put them around like 22nd in the league last year if the Kraken had been able to manage to do it. It's still obviously below 50%. I'm not saying they're going to get there or anything. But this 48.7, I do believe, was a full 1.5 higher than they were this past year. So it would be, again, it's aggressively optimistic.
Okay, well, I'm glad you're giving me a chance to be aggressively optimistic here after I took the other side on the shorthanded goals and the power play percentage, because I'm going to take the over here. There has been so much focus on this as an issue last season. I think there was a bit of acceptance, and I think rightfully so, that like, okay, there's not a whole lot we can do about it this year. And I get that. You don't want to mortgage future assets to bring in a big face-off taker at the deadline. We've been over this. But I do think there's going to be focus on it this year. It starts with the acquisition of Pierre-Edouard Bellemare. I think just alone, he can probably get them at least to 22%, 22nd in the league, I mean, in face-offs. And also, Matty Beniers is another year older.
Yes,
that kind of stuff actually does help in the dot. Dave Haxtell's talked about that, having another year of experience there. I think he's going to get more respect, even with, and especially with the Calder trophy that he won too. I think that's the kind of thing that maybe gets you a little bit more respect in the dot. But I'm going to take the over here. Also, because I think they're going to get someone at the trade deadline. Yeah, I think that's going to really boost it. If it's not working, and if it's below this 48.7%, that means it's not working. I think they're going to bring in someone at the deadline, and that will bring it up above that number.
Yeah, and I was wrong. It's actually three and a half points higher. They were 45.3 last year.
Okay.
So before you lock it into stone, just know they were that bad, and they did lose Morgan Geekie, who obviously was one of the kind of go-to guys they could rely on. But I'm with you. I think Matty Beniers is going to step it up there. I think that they'll probably be a little bit more aggressive at the deadline this year if they're in the same spot they were in last year with the expectations they now have. So yeah, that's kind of why I was so aggressive and I put it as high as 48.7.
Very high for that. Yeah, no, I'm gonna be optimistic about that. Hopefully,
I was gonna say
that issue will get.
We got to be the only fan base in the league to have a playoff team, and for all of us to be like, boy, would we be ecstatic and over the moon if we had a 21% power play and we're 48.7 on the face-off dot, which are again both below average, but again significantly better than what the Kraken were able to do last year.
This is a special team, Dylan. Let's just appreciate
it's
that.
Very special.
All right. So for my next one, I am going to bring in another team here. And I thought this might be kind of fun. This is thinking creatively, and I realize now I did 6 team and 4 player ones, just like last year. Sorry. So here's another
It's
team
a
one.
tradition. RJ doesn't know how
Yeah,
to count.
tradition.
It's a tradition.
Perfect. Well, we'll see. There'll be a little math required for this one too. So
You
maybe
stop
I'll
when you
help
get to the
count.
pinky, RJ. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you stop.
I'll keep that system in mind. If anyone wants to give me a little reminder chart or something for next year, I could use it. Okay, so this one might be a little complicated, but it's 41.5 is the number. And
Okay.
it's how many more wins the Seattle Mariners will have this season than the Seattle Kraken. Now, of course, the Mariners will have more wins by virtue of the season being almost twice as long.
Yeah.
That's a given.
Yes.
Mariners have 60 wins already. Kraken aren't going to get to 60 wins this season. Now, I'll give you a little bit of information before you go have to look up the MLB standings and everything. The Mariners are currently on an 87 win pace.
Okay.
If I did the math correctly, so maybe you'll want to double check that. But they're on an 87 win pace. They had 90 wins last season. What else? There's some other stat I was going to give you. Oh yeah, they've been on a heater recently. They've been playing pretty well.
Yeah, 1-5.
Despite not doing a whole lot at the deadline, a lot of people are maybe unhappy with that. They've been playing really well, so maybe that pace could improve. So if you take that 87 win pace, you subtract, 41 from it because you'll go on either side of this, right?
Yeah.
So that's 46 wins for the Kraken. That's the amount that they had last season. So there's a few elements to this. Do you trust the Mariners to do better?
I know.
Their season and the Kraken to do worse or vice versa? What are you thinking here? Take us through your thought process.
I'm thinking probably what everyone's thinking, which is, boy, we're having to count on Seattle sports teams to like keep it up and do as well as they're supposed to do. And that's a big ask of and you're asking us to do it for two teams, RJ. All right, let's see here.
Well, they're against each other, so
that is true. So if I took the I'm
realizing now I should have gone combined wins.
Combined wins would have been really interesting and fun. It would have given us something all season long to be rooting for too. I'm gonna take.
I can change it.
Yeah, you could. I'm gonna take the over though, based on what it was originally as described to me. I'm going to take the over. I think Mariners maybe fall a couple games short of that. I think the Kraken, they're going to probably have some more OTLs this upcoming season to help pad the points. They're not going to need all of the regulation wins. I think they'll probably have around like 42, 44, maybe something like that. So I'm going to take the over.
Okay, you'll take the over. So the Mariners will have more than 41.5 more wins than the Kraken.
Yeah.
Want to do combined wins really quick? I just took the 87 win pace. I took the Kraken's 46 wins from last year. That gets you to 133. 133 combined win. Let's go 132.5.
Yeah, that one. But see, I think they both might not keep the same paces. So that one for me is easy. I'd take the under.
Okay, easy under. Okay.
Yeah.
I think the Mariners are going to surprise you.
All right. Hey, I think
they're going to sneak into the playoffs.
I would love that.
All right, so there we go. That's my only baseball related one. You're free of that now.
Okay, it's fine. All right, so into the player over unders. First one, how can you not talk about him? Just won the Calder Trophy as Rookie of the Year for the NHL. Matty Beniers, RJ. We know now from last season he's not sheltered that much. I think he's going to step up. I talked about him earlier when it comes to the penalty kill, maybe getting more shorthanded goals. What about on the power play, RJ? He had 4 power play goals last season. I think he's going to be more involved on the power play this year, just because he's got a year under his belt in the league. He can start focusing on special teams more. So I've put his power play goal total at 6.5.
Okay, I think that's a fair spot to put it. And I'm optimistic about this too. I think he will be more involved on the power play. They couldn't really find the right spot for him, it felt like, last season. I think having extra time to work on that will really benefit him. And I think I'm extra convinced from the time I spent just kind of around the team last year, where the things you hear, right? If you watch the practices too, even late in the season, even around playoff time, they were still trying to work some things out on the power play, specifically kind of where Maddie was and where Yanni was. And you could see in practice the two of them kind of trying to communicate, talk that out, and sort it out. Never fully got resolved, I think. If you look at just the results on the power play, they didn't find something that clicked super well. But I think that's an issue where you have all of training camp, you have the preseason. That is a lot of time where you can just focus in and work on that. And I think the fact that they are talking about it too, you could even hear kind of the dialogue between the two of them. Like, well, no, I should be here. No, I want you here, move around, move a few feet that way, that kind of thing. That tells me that it's like a really healthy process. It's just going to take time. And I think they're going to finally have time. So I'm going to take the over on that. I think the Pucks are going to find Matty Beniers. Yep. He'll have over 6.5 power play goals.
Yeah, last year the Kraken had one player with over 6.5, and that was Jared McCann at 7. I'm with you. He could be effective on the power play in a lot of different places. If you let him cook and roam through the zone, I think he'd find ways of getting open in the slot and scoring goals. He's also a really good backdoor player if you want to keep him around the net, even playing him behind the net and let him be a distributor, and then he can sneak around for some stuff. I think there's a lot of options for them. So I definitely, again, I'm a little optimistic about the power play this year. I think Matty Beniers will be a part of it. Next one you got, RJ. Here we go.
Yes, and these are actual player over-unders here, so this is good. We're on to the player category. And 5-team, 1 baseball, and 4 player. So the first of the player is Riker Evans, games played.
Ooh.
And I really wasn't sure where to set the line here.
Yeah.
Because he's not immediately going to be in the top 6, I would think. But all it takes is one injury, and he's probably the next guy up, and he could be playing every game. So I went with 21.5.
Woo.
At a quarter of the season.
Interesting.
I had to factor in just the injuries. If one guy goes down and he takes that spot, it could be a lot of games.
Right. Here's my thought process. If one guy goes down, Jacob Megna's taking that spot.
Quite possibly.
So that's why I'm like, I think the under. I think you have to count on 2 defensemen being hurt, unless it's maybe Justin Schultz and they decide, okay, we want a puck mover, we need somebody for the power play.
I say it depends on the role, because Evans being something that Megna just can't bring.
That is very true. That one is interesting, but I'm gonna be pessimistic. I'll be the downer. I'm gonna take the under.
All right, fair enough. We'll see. It's one where I feel like it could just add up very quickly, but also just not at all.
Yeah, that's true. Now I'll go ahead and I'll skip a couple down, RJ, to go with mine. That's a games played for a player mark. Someone in maybe a similar situation, and that's Shane Wright. Okay.
Ooh.
And I set this at Shane Wright games played 9.5. Basically,
how did you ever arrive at that figure?
I have no idea. It seems so arbitrary, doesn't it? Basically, do you think they're burning a year off of Shane Wright's rookie contract? Is he going to basically, is he making the team or not, RJ? Because that's what this number is at. He could play the 9 games. They could then send him down. You keep that 1 year on his rookie contract. If he plays more than the 9 games, you're burning that year. It probably means they're keeping him for the full season. So this really becomes an over-under. Do you think Shane Wright makes the team?
Right. So interesting to think about this, because here's my thought process, right? So we don't know whether he's going to be eligible to play in the AHL or
Correct.
not. So that's the big unknown here.
Yes.
With this. And of course, if we had that answer, it'd make it much easier to choose an over-under here.
Yes.
So let's look at the scenario where he is not eligible to play in the AHL. Mm-hmm. Ron Francis can't convince the CHL and the NHL to make an agreement here. And so for him, it's either Kraken or juniors.
Yep.
I just don't see how they send him back to the OHL. He's got nothing to gain there. There's no way he can benefit. I think they keep him on the roster. And if that's the case, you simply have to play him more than 9.5 games. He has to get that ice time. So in that scenario, it's an easy over. But I do have some faith that Ron Francis might be able to get a common sense solution done. I've said that in the past.
Yes, you have.
And if that's the case, it'll be a little bit dicier, right? Because he's going to probably spend a lot of time in Coachella Valley. But you know what? I'm going to take the over there even so, even if he does go to Coachella Valley, because I think what'll happen is he'll start the season in Coachella Valley, and at a certain point, it will become apparent that he is just too good to play in the AHL. He's going to build that confidence. He's going to force the team to call him up. I don't think they'll be as healthy as they were last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think some injury, something is going to happen where a roster spot will open up. Maybe not even. Maybe Shane Wright will just be so good that they'll have to give him a chance. I think he's going to beat that number of 9.5. I think they are going to burn a year. I think that's what'll be best for him in either case. Give me the over.
Yeah, and especially, Belmar's really the only competition he's got for that fourth line center spot with the Kraken, and Belmar's old, right? There's no way around that. He's been around for a while. He's a veteran player, we'll say. I think that there's chances. I've talked about it already. I think there's chances they're going to want to work in Shane Wright anyway. Not, Belmar, you bring him in for the leadership in the room just as much as you bring him in for all the on-ice stuff. So I think there's a good chance Shane Wright makes the team out of camp, just straight up, regardless of what the situation becomes. And so yeah, I would probably lean the over there. But yeah, I thought that was a nice, nice way of doing it for an over under. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. And very important one that a lot of people are going to be wondering. So I'm going to go from one rookie to another.
Okay.
And I'll go with Ty Cartier goals.
All right.
This season. So I'm going to put it at 14.5.
Oh, good.
That's right. Okay. One. I finally set a line good, right? I'm making you think here.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to pull up how many he had in the playoffs last year.
I think it was 3, right?
Yes, it was 3 goals in 10 games.
Right.
So you just kind of multiply that by 8 if you were to play a full season, right? And you're around that 15 mark.
Yeah.
Or no, 8 times 3 is sorry, 24.
That. Yeah.
24. Sorry. Yeah, there we go. So you multiply that by 8 and you're at 24.
Yeah.
So but in the playoffs, he was playing on the first line a lot. He was being given that big role. Can't count on that to start the season. What do you do?
Yeah. It was 14.5, you said?
14.5.
See, here's the thing. It's tough because I think there's a good chance he starts the season on the fourth line and he's in more of like a checking, throwing his body around, all that kind of role. But I also think because of what he was able to do in the postseason last year, the moment there's an injury, up top, he's the guy filling, that spot. I don't know. I'm going to take the under just because they brought in so many people, RJ. They had so many people already. We're trying to, I built out a lineup that basically is like if Shane Wright's playing, Ellie Tolvanen might be out of the lineup, right? There's just so many, especially wingers on this team. I don't know that he'll see a full allotment of games. I think it's possible Ty Cartier only sees like 50 or 60 games, most of which on the fourth line, where his job isn't going to be to score. I'm going to take the under, but I could easily see it being the over.
Yeah, it's a difficult one to gauge. It's going to be tough just for him to get in the lineup at all, but we saw what he can do. So hopefully he hits that over. But I understand you taking the under.
Yeah, it's just so many people. So many wingers. All right. Vince Dunn, RJ. Now, we're through the contract stuff. That's all been settled. Everybody's happy. We're all good. One of the things you and I have talked about, though, a lot with him after last season ended was the idea of will he regress at all, right? He had a fantastic season last year, especially when it comes to point production. So I was trying to factor in how much do we think that might fall off a little bit, the contract year stuff he had a little bit last year. So I have Vince Dunn points, RJ. He had 64 last year. I set this line at 57.5. I thought about making it 56.5. I gave him an extra one there, 57.5.
Okay. I think that's a good number. It really does make me think here. Because I do anticipate some regression there. It's tough because you look at where his production came last season. It was so even strength weighted, right?
Yeah.
There's technically a lot of room to grow on the power play. Certainly he can be that true power play one quarterback. So there's room for growth, but you would expect some regression, even strength. I still have my doubts as far as the power play production for him. I know you share those doubts as well. I think now you have an added element where potentially Riker Evans could be a threat to some of that power play time as a power play quarterback. If there are those couple injuries, if Evans gets in the lineup, you might want to try him there. And maybe Vince Dunn is the casualty of that. You have Justin Schultz on the other unit. But the number one thing is I just think the even strength points are going to regress. The number that most convinces me of that is his team high 13.3% on ice shooting percentage last season. So that's the highest on the team, and a team that shot pretty high in all situations. 13.3, that just seems very high to me. I feel like that number is going to come down just because these numbers tend to regress to the mean. I think we'll see something lower there from Vince Dunn, and just at even strength, I think there's going to be enough regression. Give me the under.
All right. Now, would you have still said that if it was 56.5?
I would have thought about it harder.
Good to know.
All right. So next one I have for you here is games that Vince Dunn and Adam Larsson are not a D pair.
Whoa. At 5-on-5, I assume.
At 5, yeah, I'm going like the line rushes. You look at the line rushes, and that's like the D pairs tonight. They'll be moved around. They might be, but maybe there's a Riker Evans. You want to give him Larsson, to kind of ease him in, or maybe there's an injury to either one of those guys. We certainly take Larsson for granted because he's played every game in the team's history. But all it takes is one injury to either of those guys.
Yep.
So I'll let you know. Last season, the number of games here was one.
Yes, because
when Vince Dunn was resting.
Yeah, he was chilling with me in Arizona. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, when he was up in the quote unquote press box, it wasn't really a press box, behind the velvet rope with you in Arizona. So you remember that one game very well.
Yeah,
that was the only one.
Yeah. I was gonna say we were having a competition who could take more selfies with people.
Exactly. I won't mention who won or didn't win or anything like that, but so I'm gonna set the number here. I'm gonna set the line at 4.5. 82 game season, 4.5 games. You got to factor in injuries. You got to factor in just lineup decisions.
Yeah, I don't think there would be any lineup decision that, if both of them are healthy, is going to change that pairing. So I'm just going to get that one out of the way. That being said, I got to think if there's an injury that's going to take either one of these guys out of the lineup, it'll be semi-serious, and I think they could miss more than 4.5 games. So I'm going to take the over. Obviously, I don't want it to happen, and I would love for it to be wrong. Maybe I'm hedging our bets by taking the over here, and it means it'll be the under, and everybody's healthy and great. But they've been remarkably healthy. I don't know. I'm going to take the over, but I don't want to.
Okay. I do think that is the safe pick, certainly. I mean, hey, just hope that it might be the over because they're just so far into a playoff spot. They're going to rest guys, and that'll be that.
Yeah. If that happens, I mean, they proved they'll rest at least Vince Dunn last year. They proved that. I don't know that they'll ever take Larsson out if he's healthy, just because the Iron Man streak basically for the Kraken here. But yeah, I think that there's a chance for that. I was actually surprised Vince Dunn didn't sit more down the stretch there a little bit.
Yeah, same. I mean, after the big season he had, but I want to keep the guys fresh. So what do you have for me next?
All right. So the next one I have is for goaltending. I've already said I think the goaltending is going to be a little bit better this season, save percentage wise. So let's talk about Philip Grubauer and his save percentage. Okay, I think it's time, RJ, that the Kraken have an above average save percentage. And I think Philip Grubauer might be the guy to do it. So Philip Grubauer, save percentage, RJ, I have it at 904.5.
Okay. Now, Dylan, I think you made this one too easy on me here. Personally, we disagree. We're going to disagree about the goaltending here. And this is not a comment on Philip Grubauer's goaltending necessarily. I cannot take the over here, Dylan. I've got to go. You could have put it at 900. I would have taken the under here. And look, this is not a criticism of Philip Grubauer. We've seen how this system works, Dylan. We've seen it with all different goaltenders. We've seen it with guys who, have played great for stretches. I mean, you look at Martin Jones as well as he played for stretches last season, 886 save percentage. Yep. Philip Grubauer, who really bounced back last year, 895. Joey Daccord in the 5 games got to a 900. We just haven't seen it happen no matter who's in net. And look, I think we can both agree that Philip Grubauer played very, very well in the playoffs.
Yes, he did.
Last year through those 14 games. I mean, he was on his game.
Yep.
903.
Yep.
That doesn't clear where you're putting the line. So I have to go under on this. I mean, you just set it way too high.
You know how many times in Philip Grubauer's regular season career he would have been below this prior to joining the Kraken, RJ?
Never, right?
Never. Yes, never. And 905 is generally thought like that's around league average, or at least it was around the mid-season point last year.
Yep, I was thinking that too.
So I was basically just being, can Philip Grubauer get to league average save percentage? And you just don't think so. But yet I'm the one who hates
team.
Goaltenders.
There's this that look you're giving me. I am taking the blame out of his hands. I'm saying that no goalie can, put whoever in there with this system. Yeah, no goalie we've seen so far. I think it's the system. I think it's the team. I think you can play well and still have a save percentage below league average on this team. That's just kind of how it works. I don't see that changing. Hope he proves me wrong. But yeah, give me the under on that. And it's not Grubauer's fault.
All right.
So time for my last. Nah. Don't at me. So time for my last player-based one, and it is a repeat from last year. I got to do it.
Okay.
Cole Lind goalie kisses.
Yep.
Because the hope is still alive, Dylan.
Yep.
I am going with 2.5.
Oh.
I've lowered the line significantly.
Yes.
2.5 over under 2.5 Cole Lind goalie kisses. And in Seattle with the Kraken, not in Coachella Valley, because there were lots of those in Coachella Valley last season.
Yes.
But do we see 3 Cole Lind goalie kisses? And it's games, by the way. It's games where they win and Cole Lind is in the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
It's if it's one win and he kisses the helmet 3 times. I feel like I should give you credit for that if it is. But anyway, you know what the deal is. Over or under, Dylan?
I have to take the under again. Just like I talked about earlier, there's too many wingers, right? Like both Hackstall and Ron Francis absolutely are in love with Ty Cartier. Where is he supposed to play, right? Ron Francis also had to go out and he signed a bunch of wingers. I just don't see where Cole Lind can find a steady spot in the lineup, where he can be the guy over a Hayden to be called up, over maybe a Shane Wright if he's with the Firebirds to be called up, right? He's got to beat out some stiff competition just to be the call up. And then once he's there, he's got to be in enough games, and those games have to be wins. It just feels like a lot, RJ. I got to go the under. Again, I don't want to.
All right. I made you end it on a bummer, just like last year, because you took the under last year, even though you were very right. All right. Sorry I had to end it that way.
Well, here's the good news. I have the last one here, so I can try to turn things around. I was trying to think of a fun one. Again, the haircut with Brandon Tanev, that was a good one. Hard to verify without just straight up asking him maybe at exit interviews. How many haircuts did you have this year? And can
I
you
forgot to do that this year.
Can you
in my
prove
notes
it with
from the start
receipts?
of the year, but
So this year I have one that's going to be a little bit more trackable for us. So I was trying to think of something fun, try to find a way to bring in one of your favorite Seattle Kraken, RJ, and that's of course Will Borgen, B1, also fan favorite of many people out there in the community. So I was trying to think what would be a good one for Will Borgen, and at first I thought the amount of times we hear Will Borgen speak, which would be pretty low, and you could probably set something around 4.5. But then I thought, let's make it good. Times we get Will Borgen for post-game availability. And I have set this at 1.5, because I think there'll be at least one game where maybe he gets the Gordie Howe hat trick. He's going to talk to him. There's got to be one game where Will Borgen does something that gets him into the post-game availability. But can he do it 2 times, and/or would he be willing to do it 2 times?
All right. Now, Dylan, I have to inform you. I'm sorry, but I have to inform you that you messed up here.
I did?
No, don't worry. You messed up as in you're going to lose this one. You set I guess you could have set the line at some point where it would have been difficult. But here's the thing. Because you set the line here at like a reasonable number, which is what you do.
Yeah.
That is what you do. You have ensured that you're going to lose here and that I'm going to get this right.
Because you're going to ask for him every game so that you get to 2. I should have given you something you have control over.
Exactly. If I take the over, I can make sure it hits. Media can request players for post-game media availability. And for me to request Borgen twice over the entire season, nobody's going to bat an eye at that, Dylan.
No, they
So
wouldn't.
I can make sure this hits. So I'm going to take the over. I mean, hey, you almost messed up further because you had times that we hear him speak at 4. And let me tell you, again, when the lights and the cameras aren't all on him, He speaks quite a bit. He's great. He's got an awesome personality. He loves chirping with the guys
but
in the
fans
room.
aren't hearing that, right? You
Okay,
hear that in
fair
the
enough.
locker room, but I'm not hearing that, right? Like, nobody else is
Okay.
hearing that, so that doesn't count. I meant, like, publicly.
Okay. Well, anyway, I'm going to take the over. I'm going to make sure that it hits. So have fun with that one. Maybe I can get a little bit closer to your 8 out of 10 result there. But everybody listening to this, if you're listening to this podcast, take the over.
Well, there you go. And you know what? It's something that I feel like the people would want, so I'm not going to go and message, like, Kate and Darren and everybody else, Jeff Baker. I'll go reach out to everybody and tell them,
Like,
don't
hey, can we get
ever
Borg?
request
Like,
Will Morgan.
no,
Don't ever
no.
request Will Morgan. Don't let him get Will Morgan. No. I think this would be something that the people would want and they'd be on board with. So yes, there you go. And we'll see if there's one contrarian out there who doesn't think you can do it, RJ, on the Google form.
That'll be so fun to check the Google form to see who takes the under here.
99% took the over, one person.
It might be the other way around since you're basically telling him to take the under.
I'm not telling him to take the under. You said to take the over. You're the one in control of this one. I just think that would be funny. But there you have it, everybody. There are over-unders for the upcoming 2023-2024 Seattle Kraken season, year 3. I'm just now realizing we didn't put any for like the Winter Classic. Maybe we'll have to do one for the Winter Classic when that gets
thought about
closer.
that, but I don't know. I wasn't sure what it would be.
Yeah, I don't know. We got to see how the season starts playing out a little bit first, I think. Maybe we'll do one closer to the Winter Classic. But there you have it, everybody. Again, links to the Google form so you can play along in the description of this if you're watching on YouTube. Otherwise, it can be found on all our social links in the Discord, of course. So there we have it. And that's going to conclude our first episode of Way Too Early for the month of August, RJ, on our deep dive episode 99.
Oh my god.
You and I are literally having a meeting tomorrow. We got to figure out if we're doing something for episode 100. Why did it have to fall in the month of August? Because we had originally talked about like, oh, we'll make that like a big blowout with all these other media personalities. It's like, no, it's August. That's not going to happen.
Everyone's on vacation.
We got to figure this out. But there we go. That's going to conclude this episode of the Deep Dive, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Check out Queen Anne Beer Hall, especially get your tickets if you're interested in that all-you-can-eat crab on August 20th. And we'll see you all next time. Hey everyone, before we go, we just wanted to give a quick shout out to all of our awesome patrons over at patreon.com/Emerald City Hockey, especially our Terror of the Deep patrons. Absurdly Sane, Alex, Andrew, Anonymous, Ben, Brad, Burnt Creme, Kaylin, Chris, Cody, Connor, Coop, Daryl, Denise, DJ Singletone, Duthin, Eli, Elizabeth, Evan, Habak, Gaby, Gary, Gregory, Harry Legionary, Jay, Jane, Jeremy, Jessica, Joni, Joseph, Josh, Joshua, Katie, Keegan, Kepler, Kitty B. Kraken,
Leanne, Light, Lonnie, Mark, Maya, Michael, Michelle, Noah, Nori, Nunya, Paige, Paul, Rayanne, Rebecca, Ryan, Sarah, Scott, C.A. Kraken, Sean B., Sean O., Sergey, Shannon, Shoeshine, Skeletal Tendency, Steve, Steven, Striatic, Pasty Kobold, Team YMIAT, Tank Commander Ty, Wendy, Strife, and Zane. Thank you so much for making all this possible. We really appreciate your support.